Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're getting into something we can literally all use, a lively, incredibly practical guide on essential restaurant English. This whole presentation is actually built around the real-life dining adventures and sometimes misadventures of two very experienced friends, Lily and Tom. We've taken their experiences and distilled them into this guide, which is designed specifically to help you survive international dining without even a hint of embarrassment. So, be honest, have you ever been embarrassed speaking English at a restaurant? Because if you have, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Take our friend Tom, for example. He recently went out for this fancy anniversary dinner at an upscale Italian place. He sits down, looks at the table, sees 4 forks next to his plate, and panics so much that he literally hid his phone under the table just to Google the cutlery rules. And to make matters worse, when the waiter came over and asked how he wanted his meat cooked, his mind just went totally blank. He completely forgot the vocabulary. He just looked up in a panic and said, not too red, but also not too dry. Fortunately, the waiter smiled and guessed correctly, but man, that's exactly the kind of feeling we all want to avoid. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to take a chronological culinary journey today. First, making polite orders. Second, meat doneness. Third, describing flavors. Fourth, solving table problems. And finally, number 5, the bill and tip. Starting right off with section 1, making polite orders. Now, right off the bat, there is a clear grammar distinction if you want to sound polite. To sound natural, you really want to avoid using the phrase, I want. It just comes across as overly direct, especially in a nicer setting. Instead, lean on these two gold standards. First, could I? You use this when you're asking if something is possible. For example, could I see the dessert menu, please? On the flip side, I'd like is a direct yet highly polite way to state your actual choice. So you'd say, I'd like a sparkling water, please. Using either of these is basically the perfect way to start your interaction on the right foot. Moving right along to section 2, meat doneness. The absolute crucial point here is understanding the cooking progression, so you never have to say not too red again. Step 1 is rare, which just means the meat is cooked very quickly so the inside stays red and soft. Step 2 is medium, and hey, this is exactly what Tom was actually looking for. It means the outside is brown and the inside is pink. Then step 3 is well done, meaning it is fully cooked all the way through with absolutely no pink inside. As a quick, funny side note, Lily always orders her food well done. For her, it is a very firm personal choice and she makes absolutely zero apologies for it. Next up, section 3, describing flavors. Once you take that first bite, you need the right words. First up is flavorful. This simply means having a strong, delicious taste. It's the absolute perfect word to use when food surprises you in a really, really good way. Imagine taking a bite of a soup that's just packed with herbs, garlic, maybe a hit of lemon. Your face lights up. That soup isn't just good, it's extremely flavorful. Then we have rich. Now, rich describes food that is very heavy, creamy, or intense. Think decadent sauces or big desserts. Lily actually has a fantastic story about this. She once ordered a truffle cream pasta that was so incredibly rich she could only manage to eat half of it. She jokingly admitted that the pasta won, and she literally required a full 15-minute rest at the table after eating it. If a dessert or a pasta takes you down like that, well, it's definitively rich. But, we have to contrast those amazing words with this one, bland. Bland means the food has very little taste, it's just boring. Tom and Lily once ordered this vegetable soup at a hotel, and after exactly one sip, Lily perfectly described it as tasting like warm water with vegetable memories. I mean, that hilarious description is basically the ultimate definition of a bland dish. All right, section 4, solving table problems, because things don't always go perfectly. Let's look at two totally opposite cooking disasters. Overcooked means the food was cooked way too long, making it dry or hard. On the other hand, undercooked means it wasn't cooked nearly enough, which is a major problem, especially with chicken or steak. Now, if you ever face either of these issues, the trick is to always start your complaint softly. A fantastic, polite phrase to use is, I'm sorry to bother you, but right before you explain the problem. But sometimes the problem isn't how the food is cooked, it's just what comes with it. That brings us to the word substitute, which means to replace one thing with another. You can totally ask for a replacement without any fear of judgment. Like, Tom once cheekily asked the waiter if he could substitute his super healthy side of vegetables for just more bread. And honestly, the waiter happily obliged. Let's see how this all builds into a real interaction. We're going to do a quick simulated role play here between our two friends. Imagine you are the polite customer addressing a problem with the meal. You'd say, "Excuse me, my steak is undercooked. Could I substitute the fries for a salad, please?" Notice how polite but extremely clear that request is. And to complete our little role play, the accommodating waiter simply replies, "Certainly, sir." A good restaurant is always going to fix a polite request quickly, and usually with a smile. If you are calm and respectful, handling a table problem is completely stress-free. And finally, everyone's favorite part, Section 5, the bill and tip. So here is the essential vocabulary you need at the end of the night. First off, note that in the US, they say check, while over in the UK, they say bill. Next, we have split the bill or split it down the middle, which means dividing the cost exactly 50-50. Tom and Lily actually had a hilarious split the bill moment during a business lunch once. Lily ordered 3 different food items, while Tom literally only had a single sparkling water. When the check came, Lily cheerfully suggested, "Should we split it down the middle?" Needless to say, Tom had to gently remind her that his sparkling water didn't exactly equal her 3-course meal. And right before you walk out the door, there's the tip, which is also known as the gratuity. In the United States, the standard tip is about 15 to 20% of the total bill. It is incredibly important to tip well for good service. Just to thank the waitstaff for all their hard work, even if, like Tom, you momentarily forgot your vocabulary words and made them play a guessing game about your steak. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to really lock in what you've learned. What is your favorite food? And how would you describe it using today's vocabulary? Is it an incredibly rich chocolate cake? A super flavorful bowl of pasta? Take a second and mentally describe your favorite dish right now to actively practice your new English skills. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. And hey, I hope you never have to hide under a restaurant table again.